Most people think they have a money problem. They don't. They have a stuff problem. And by the end of this video, you're going to see exactly how the things sitting in your home right now are quietly draining your bank account every single month without you even realizing it. Let me show you something that completely changes how you see money. Picture two people. Person A pulls in $95,000 a year. Walk through their front door and you'll spot a giant television bolted to the wall, a leather sofa that set them back a few thousand, a kitchen overflowing with appliances that have never once been turned on, and an entire room packed floor to ceiling with things they bought and then forgot about. Every time this person looks at their account balance, their chest gets tight. They're one unexpected bill away from serious trouble. Now meet person B. They make $52,000 a year. Their place feels open. A simple sofa, a normal-sized TV, a kitchen with only what actually gets used, a closet with clothes that actually get worn. No clutter, no chaos. This person sleeps well at night because they have a year and a half of living expenses saved, and they're investing 20% of every paycheck automatically. Same neighborhood, nearly half the income, 10 times the financial stability. So what's actually going on here? Welcome to Cashflow Invests. And today we're breaking down the 10 money rules that people who are always financially ahead quietly live by, whether they earn a lot or a little. Before we get into the rules, you need to understand one thing that will change how you think about every purchase for the rest of your life. Anything you buy costs you money twice. The first time is obvious. It's whatever you paid at checkout. But the second cost is invisible, and it's often bigger than the first. That second cost is the space it takes up in your home, the time you spend maintaining it, the mental energy it quietly pulls from you, and the growth it could have generated if that money had been invested instead. Here's a real example. A treadmill takes up around 20 square feet once you leave room to actually use it. In most cities, you're spending somewhere between $600 and $1,000 a year just in rent to store that machine, and that's assuming you even use it. A boat worth $30,000 eats through about $3,000 every single year in maintenance costs alone, even if it never leaves the driveway. And all of this is before we even talk about the mental weight. Scientists have found that physical clutter raises your stress levels and cuts your ability to think clearly. Your possessions are costing you focus and peace of mind around the clock. Add in the investment growth you gave up by spending that money instead of putting it to work, and many things end up costing more to own than they ever cost to buy in the first place. Now let's get into the rules. The first rule is always calculate cost per use before you buy anything. Take the full price, estimate how many times you'll realistically use it, and divide. That's your cost per use, and it's the only number that actually tells you if something is worth buying. A $200 jacket you grab twice costs $100 each time you wear it. A $400 jacket you wear consistently for years costs almost nothing per use. The more expensive item is actually the smarter financial decision. Run this calculation on anything before you buy it, and you'll immediately see which purchases make sense and which ones are just impulse spending, dressed up as value. Rule 2 is the replacement test. Go through your home, and for every single item, ask yourself this one question. If this disappeared tomorrow, would I spend money to replace it? Be completely honest. Would you actually go out and rebuy that kitchen gadget sitting in the back of the cabinet? Those clothes hanging with the tags still on? That piece of equipment from a hobby you tried once and dropped? For most things, the real answer is no. They exist in your life because removing them feels like effort, not because you actually want them. Every item that fails this test is costing you space, costing you mental energy, and giving you absolutely nothing in return. Get rid of it. The moment you start clearing out things you wouldn't replace, something shifts. Your space feels lighter. Your mind feels clearer. You start making decisions faster because there's less noise everywhere. Rule 3. Stop upgrading things that still work. This is one of the biggest silent wealth killers there is. A phone that works perfectly does not need replacing because a newer one dropped. A car that gets you where you need to go reliably does not need an upgrade because your colleague bought something newer. Furniture that still functions does not need changing because you got bored looking at it. Every time you swap out something functional for something newer, you're not making progress. You're burning money. Over a lifetime, the average person loses tens of thousands of dollars upgrading things that had absolutely nothing wrong with them. The rule is straightforward. Replace something only when it genuinely cannot do its job anymore. Boredom is not a reason. A newer model existing is not a reason. Actual failure is the only reason. Rule 4 is about making smart behavior automatic. Here's the truth about willpower. It runs out. You cannot rely on it to consistently make good financial decisions, especially when you're tired or stressed or emotional. What you can rely on is a well-designed environment. Make spending harder. Delete the shopping apps. Remove saved payment details from websites. Give yourself a 24-hour waiting period on anything that isn't essential. Unsubscribe from every promotional email. At the same time, make saving effortless. Set up automatic transfers to your investment account the moment your paycheck lands. Keep only a small working amount in your checking account. Treat your savings like a bill that gets paid first, not whatever is left over at the end of the month. The 24-hour rule alone eliminates roughly 70% of impulse purchases because most of the desire fades completely once you don't act on it immediately. Rule 5. Count what you own on a regular basis. This sounds too simple to matter, and it absolutely works. Counting forces you to actually face what you've accumulated. Most people have no idea what they own until they sit down and count it. 40 shirts, 12 pairs of shoes, 8 kitchen gadgets that do basically the same thing. Once you see the real number, adding more feels completely different. You're not just buying another shirt. You're bringing your collection from 47 to 48. The absurdity becomes impossible to ignore. Set a maximum for the categories that tend to pile up for you and stick to it. When something new comes in, something old has to go out. This single habit stops lifestyle creep before it ever gains momentum. Rule 6 is to try before you commit. Most purchases that end up as clutter follow the same pattern. Strong excitement at the beginning, heavy use for a short period, then the item barely gets touched again. Before investing in anything new, rent it or borrow it first. Thinking about getting into hiking? Borrow the gear for a couple of trips. Curious about woodworking? Use a shared workshop before buying tools. Considering a kayak? Rent one several times before buying your own. This approach tells you two things: whether your enthusiasm is real or just temporary, and exactly what you actually need so that when you do buy, you buy the right thing instead of guessing. Rule 7. Always calculate the full ecosystem cost. Nothing you buy is ever just one thing. A boat means a trailer, a vehicle strong enough to tow it, storage fees, fuel, safety gear, insurance, and specialized clothing. A home gym means flooring, mirrors, proper ventilation, and often renovations. A pool means chemicals, cleaning tools, covers, outdoor furniture, and usually landscaping. Before any major purchase, sit down and calculate the entire ecosystem of costs that comes with it, not just the sticker price. What looks like a $5,000 decision often turns out to be a $10,000 decision once you account for everything it pulls in behind it. And here's the flip side. Getting rid of one major item often eliminates an entire chain of ongoing expenses all at once. Rule 8. Decide what enough looks like before you start earning more. This is the trap that catches so many high earners. Their income grows, their lifestyle grows to match it, and they end up feeling just as financially stretched as before. Without a clear definition of enough, every raise just enables a more expensive version of the same treadmill. Decide in advance what kind of home genuinely works for your life. What kind of car actually meets your needs? What level of comfort is real satisfaction versus just more? When your income grows beyond that line, the extra doesn't go toward a bigger lifestyle. It goes toward building your future. The person who sets their living standard at $60,000 a year and then earns $150,000 is accumulating wealth at a rate that most people find hard to believe. Not because of a higher income, but because they stopped moving the goalpost. Rule 9. Measure your wealth by the options it gives you, not the things it buys you. Real wealth isn't a bigger house or a nicer car. Real wealth is being able to leave a job that is breaking you. Being able to take 6 months off for your family without panic. Being able to move, start over, take a risk, or retire early on your own terms. None of that is available to someone who earns $200,000 a year, but spends nearly all of it. They're chained to their income, no matter how large it gets. But someone who earns $80,000 and lives on $45,000, they have genuine options. They can absorb a setback. They can take a calculated risk. They can say no to things that don't align with what they actually want. Every purchase you make is a trade. You are exchanging future freedom for something you own right now. Make sure it's worth that trade. Rule 10. Make decluttering a consistent habit rather than a once-a-year event. The reason most people who try to simplify end up right back where they started within 2 years is because they treat it as a one-time project. They purge everything, feel great, and then slowly accumulate again without noticing. The fix is consistency over intensity. A quick weekly check on what's coming in. A monthly review of one category. A quarterly check on the bigger picture. Catching 3 extra items creeping in is easy. Facing 300 items all over again is overwhelming enough that most people keep avoiding it. So here is exactly where you start. This week, walk through your home and find 10 things you wouldn't actually replace if they disappeared. Get rid of them and pay attention to how it feels. This month, put the 24-hour rule into practice on every non-essential purchase and track how many of those desires survive a full day. This quarter, count everything in 3 categories that tend to pile up for you. Set a real cap for each one. And before the year is out, write down what enough looks like for you across your major spending categories and keep it somewhere visible for when the temptation shows up to push past it. These habits compound. Someone living by these rules consistently for 5 years ends up owning far less and saving far more. And the gap they create between their income and their expenses builds a kind of financial freedom that no salary increase alone can ever produce. Here is the part that almost nobody talks about. This relationship works in both directions. Owning less frees up money, but having real financial security also makes the urge to keep buying things much quieter. When your savings are solid and your money is growing, the psychological pull toward accumulation loses its grip. The desire for security and status starts getting satisfied by your actual financial strength instead of by the things around you. You stop needing to prove something to yourself through purchases because your bank account is already telling you the story you want to hear. Most people who can't stop overspending can't fully explain why. The real reason is almost always that spending gives temporary relief to the anxiety that financial insecurity creates. Build real financial security, and that anxiety starts to dissolve on its own, and so does the compulsion to spend. Spending less leads to saving more. Saving more builds genuine security. Security reduces the emotional need to buy. Reduced buying accelerates saving even further. Each step makes the next step easier. The opposite pattern is equally powerful in the wrong direction. Spending everything creates anxiety. Anxiety drives more spending as temporary relief. That relief is short-lived, so more spending follows. The cycle doesn't break until something forces it to. The research is clear that beyond a basic level of comfort, more things don't make people meaningfully happier. Most people spend as though happiness scales with consumption. People who build real wealth spend enough to live well and point everything beyond that toward freedom. That second apartment belongs to someone who figured this out, not someone with an exceptional income, someone with exceptional clarity. The first apartment belongs to someone who never questioned the belief that more stuff means a better life. Both outcomes are available to you right now, regardless of what you currently earn. The only real decision is whether your possessions serve your life or whether your life exists to maintain your possessions. If this opened your eyes to something you hadn't seen before, subscribe to Cashflow Invests because this is exactly the kind of content we put out. Real strategies, no fluff, just what actually works.